It was the grandest execution in the empire's history. The charge, attempting to poison the emperor. And the criminal was the crown princess herself. Ariadne. Any last words? As the blade fell, she was smiling. And when she opened her eyes again, it was 3 years in the past. The morning before the crown princess selection was announced. She had returned to before every tragedy began. For a long moment, she stared at her own living, breathing hands. This time, I won't play the victim. This was the truth of her first life. The one who poisoned the emperor's tea was her half-sister, Rosella. And the vial of poison was found in Ariadne's drawer, because someone had put it there. And her husband signed his own wife's death warrant, while holding a weeping Rosella in his arms. Without hearing a single word of her defense. But now, memory itself was her weapon. Every event, every betrayal, every hidden piece of evidence for the next 3 years. The woman in the mirror smiled coldly. I'll leave the scaffold standing. I'm only changing who climbs it. Her first choice, she chose to become crown princess again. Because the best place to destroy your enemies is the seat right beside them. And in this life, she went first to a man she had only passed by in her last one. The empire's shadow, Lucian, Duke of the Royal Inquisition. Your Grace. In 3 years, the emperor will be poisoned. Would you believe me if I said that? The silver-haired duke didn't look up from his documents. But his pen had unmistakably stopped moving. Madness. But, go on. Prove it. So she proved it. Tomorrow night, the western granary would burn. And the arsonist would be a maid disguised as a laundress. She told him everything. The next night, the western sky turned red. And the arsonist caught by the Inquisition was Rosella's own maid. The prophecy hadn't missed by a single word. That night, the empire's shadow extended his hand to the future crown princess. It was the first page of a 3-year script. Very well. I'll play my part in your script. Rosella's first move was identical to her last life, humiliating her sister's ignorance at the noble women's tea party. But this Ariadne already knew the answer to every single question. Perfect answers, perfect etiquette, a perfect smile. The star of the tea party had changed, and Rosella's nails trembled against her teacup. Something's wrong, my sister has changed. The crown prince began to notice his changed fiancée for the first time. But it was too late. She had never, not for one day, forgotten his signature on her death warrant. Lately, you seem different. The place where she truly smiled was elsewhere, the Duke's archive. As the evidence piled up page by page, their nights grew longer together. One night, a warm cup of tea was set down on her documents. It came from the supposedly cold-blooded Duke's own hand. When your revenge is over, who will your time belong to? The 3-year script unfolded exactly as written. The black market dealer who would sell Rosella her poison was already Lucian's man, and every transaction was being recorded in 2 sets of ledgers. And then, the fated day arrived. The very same spring tea ceremony where, in her last life, poison had entered the emperor's cup. Rosella moved exactly as she had in the last life, without a hair's difference. Only one thing had changed. This time, behind the curtains, the entire Royal Inquisition was watching her fingertips. Just before the poisoned cup reached the emperor's hand, Ariadne quietly stepped in. Your Majesty, that tea has gone cold. Allow me to bring a fresh cup. Panicking, Rosella played her final card, hiding the poison vial in her sister's room, just like before. The instant she opened the drawer, the Inquisition's hand fell on her shoulder. The crown prince came running. And with the same face as in her last life, he took the same side. There must be some mistake. Rosella would never do this. Lucian silently opened the ledgers. Poison purchases, bribed maids, even the granary arson. 3 years of crimes spilled out at the emperor's feet. A question for His Highness: are you an accomplice or merely blind? The emperor's fury shook the great hall. In the name of the imperial house, there will be a trial. No one will be spared. Even in the courtroom, Rosella clawed at her sister until the very end. It was her. My sister planned all of this. For the first time, Ariadne looked her sister directly in the eyes. I planned nothing. I only watched, as you spent 3 years building your own scaffold. The verdict was heavy. Conspiring to poison the emperor was high treason. For Rosella, execution. For the blind crown prince, dethronement. And in that same square, on the very scaffold where her own head had fallen in her last life, this time, the true criminal climbed the steps. Ariadne turned away before the end. Because revenge was never her destination, only a door she had to pass through. When it was all over, the emperor summoned her. You saved the imperial house. Name your reward, anything. Then, Your Majesty, give me the freedom to leave it. Before her carriage as she left the palace, the silver-haired duke stood waiting. The script is finished. So tell me, who does your time belong to now? At that question, Ariadne laughed out loud, for the first time in either of her 2 lives. Who knows? Stay beside me for 3 years or so, and you'll find out. 1 year later, the Duke of the Inquisition quietly held his wedding. The bride was once the most wronged woman in the empire, and now, its freest. And the emperor issued a decree: tear down the scaffold in the square, and build a courthouse in its place. So that never again would a head fall without proof. Her second life began with revenge, but it did not end there. The smile that never broke, even before the falling blade, had finally found its reason.